Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Monday Show 41. I'm your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend Roots. Roots, how has the start of the new week gone for you thus far?
Good, except for I felt like I was Rip Van Winkle this afternoon. Laid down for a quick nap, like maybe 15, 20 minutes. Turned into like several hours, and then I was scrambling for the show, and I was like, man, what the hell? I don't know. I must have been more tired than I thought, but other than that, it's going good, man.
Well, that's good, though. I mean, right? You're well rested for the Monday show and then whatever comes next.
Yep, absolutely. Actually, I had a couple people in the Discord. I guess it wasn't in the Discord, outside of, I guess it was in the chat, but the audio. But they were saying they want to possibly get a little contractors action going on after the show. So if anybody's interested and that actually still happens, we'll be talking about it in the Discord. So
Discord invitation in the description, as always. You guys like guns? You like gunfighting? Then you're gonna like contractors, and it's a lot more fun when you got people in there that you can talk shit to. Uh, I can speak from experience there, but we'll wait a few minutes on that. We've got a whole segment dedicated to that. Looks like the chat's filling out quite well already. We got hard to get. Roy Swartz in the house once again. Hi on tacos. How's it going, buddy? And Spry Guy. Thanks for showing up, guys. Um, so Slave Blaze making an appearance as
just
well.
slid
So
in.
yeah, just slid in at the last second there, huh? Uh, so it's the Monday show, and as we always do on the Monday show, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing over the last couple of days. Everybody gets to play games on the weekend. That's normally when most people get to play. And a lot of people always ask me why the Monday show, why not the Tuesday show, Wednesday show. Well, the kind of the idea behind the Monday show is to talk about what we've been playing, and most of the time the weekend is when we get to play. So that's the main idea and the main concept behind the Monday show.
Well, that's a day off you have now anyway. We've changed that
Uh,
so many times. Your job keeps, with everything crazy going on, keeps changing what it's doing, and so we'll change it or whatever. So right now it's the Monday show. And it's gonna be the Monday show unless something weird happens. I would like to have it spaced out a little bit somehow, some way, but if that's supposed to happen, then God will make it happen. If not, then it'll stay as it is the way I look at it. So
yeah, it's a weird situation. The other show, Virtual Strangers, has moved around a few times. It keeps jumping back and forth between Saturday and Sunday, and I would be all for moving it back to Saturday if our work schedules were conducive to that. But they are not at the moment. And besides that, I kind of like our Sunday afternoon time slot that we slid into here about. Well, I say Sunday afternoon. I mean Sunday morning.
hmm.
Our Sunday morning slot, I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah, me too. It's working out good, and I like to be able to do the show and then have the rest of my day ahead of me instead of not knowing. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and it seems like people like it as well. So for the time being, the schedule is what it is, and if we get more time, as always, we'll add more content into the schedule. And I guess it's been a while since we did a review. I guess we kind of started doing reviews on the Monday show, right?
Yeah, and reviews are, I don't know. For me, anyway, personally, this is my personal opinion. They're a little too formal. I like to talk about it. Reviews are okay. This is it. I'm telling you, this is my stamp. This is how it is. This is what I think. And I feel like ours are kind of like breathing reviews where we're constantly playing it, changing it, and just going with the flow. So I kind of like the way we do it better. But we tried the reviews, the formal reviews. I know that was one of the things. Alex was very formal, and a lot of British people are very formal and proper. And so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of like the way we do it here too on the Monday show. I like the way we've got things structured. All of the news and stuff like that comes on Virtual Strangers, and then the Monday show comes along to talk about the what we're actually playing, as well as some eclectic group of topics
Yeah.
and we got a pretty good one today. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about what we've been playing, Roots. And over the last week, there haven't been many as there haven't been any titles that have taken as much of my playtime as the Wizards Dark Times. This game came out just this past week. On They're coming on Tuesday or Thursday, Roots.
What day did we get it, or what day did it come out? I think it
Oh
came out
no,
on Thursday.
came out on
Um,
Thursday, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it came out this past Thursday from Carbon Studios, $25. And yeah, as Roots has alluded to, we've had it a little bit longer than that. Roots, what did you think about the Wizards Dark Times?
I didn't play the first one, and from what everybody says, the graphics, some people, two camps. Seen a couple of people say this looks just like the other one. And then I've had people say, wow, this looks 10 times better than the other one graphically and content wise. I was impressed with it. I was impressed with a lot of things. I was impressed with the way it looked. First off, when I went in there, I was like, wow, this looks amazing. And then second, outside of the bow, say the bow and arrow, the frozen bow and arrow, I don't know what its nemesis with me is, but I have a very hard time opening that son of a bitch. Everything else is very easy. The twist of the hand for the fireball, the shield, bringing it off to the side or whatever. It's really cool. I know that there's something I'm doing wrong, because I was watching Gamertag's video a little while ago, and he was pulling that bow out like a champ. So somehow Ruuts needs to figure out the technique. But I'm really liking the magic. I'm really liking the way they've incorporated even the just opening pathways with the wood. There's like branches covering it and stuff, and different things you see, like you see that little thing for the shield, and okay, I need to use my shield. So it's very intuitive, and man, like I can't, the graphics, I can't stress enough. Like when you shoot into one of those things and they explode and the particles go everywhere, they did a really good job in this. I can see why everybody was raving back in which show was this was on? It's like what, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, one of those demo
Oh
shows or
yeah,
something.
it was on one of the yeah, it was on one of the upload showcase was demoed at that one in England. What's it called? Gamescom, I think, is the one.
Okay. Yeah, no, and everybody loved it, and I can see why. I really enjoyed it so far. Everything that I've played so far of this game, I'd say, is top notch. What's it going? It's retailing for what, 25? Is that correct, or am I remembering that wrong?
That's absolutely correct. It's retailing for $24.99. It's available on Steam as well as the Oculus Store.
Yeah, so I would say as long as the content duration, and I don't know how long it is, but as long as it's a decent amount, I would say $25 is right about spot on. $20 would be perfect, but $25 I think for what I've played, and if it's a good enough long length, is definitely well worth $25 for sure.
Yeah, well, I haven't finished it yet. I've put a good 4 or 5 long sessions into it, and I'm still going with it. So it's not super short. I can't really say how long it is, but it isn't too short. I can say that for certain.
Okay.
Um, and I agree with everything that you're saying here. It's absolutely beautiful visually. The lighting and the particle effects, I think, is really what it makes it stand out. It reminds me a lot of Carnage Chronicles. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah, I kind of felt like if Carnage Chronicles and Shadow Legends had a baby, this would be the game. Even though I know I've said it before, people say, how could this, no, I don't know, this one came before that or whatever. But no, this it just, everything about it, even the climbing, just it looked beautiful. It played beautiful, and the content seems to be good. Story wise, I don't know exactly where it's going, but I think that's more me not 100% paying attention to what's going on. But there obviously is a story. But no, I've enjoyed every bit of it so far anyway.
Yeah, there's just enough story. The way the story works is they give you this little intro thing that sets up the story, and then there's constant narration as you make your way through the game from this wizard that's helping you. And this is very similar to the first game. What's different is if you're thorough and you search the environments as you make your way through the game, you can find these glowing bits. And when you grab onto those, it unlocks more of the story. So you'll hear a little
Hmm.
bit more voice acting to to give you some further backstory as to what's going on, how things got to be the way they are in the world, and it's not story heavy, but I would say that there's definitely enough story here to kind of pull you through the game.
I feel like they're extorting the story out of me, Wes. They're forcing me to or extorting me looking around. If you want to learn the story, you're gonna have to really be thorough, like Wes. I didn't know there's any glowing orbs. I did find the crafting stuff. That was kind of something that was cool too. Is I haven't gotten too far into the crafting. I was able to craft. Or is that? I'm thinking a different game, aren't I? I'm mixing. I've got to play that. That's the other game we're going to talk about in the next week. Never
Right.
mind. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
still half asleep.
anyway, um, again, beautiful visually. The sound matches the visuals, not only the 3D sound, but the music is spot on, and the voice acting is great as well. Um, really, the thing though that really sticks out, that really makes this title worth the money in my book, are the powers. And the, there's so many different powers, and you get more as you go along, but they're so easy to do, and they make you feel like a legitimate magical badass.
Yeah, and I've said it before. And
Um,
oh, go ahead. Oh, I don't want to cut you off.
no, I was just going to say, um, really, my only doubts or questions I had early on in the game was with the difficulty, because I didn't really feel it was all that hard. Like at the beginning of the game, you get a lot of the same enemies, and it's a lot of projectile fighting, kind of like an archery game almost, because you're fighting at long distances. And it was a long time before I ever got killed in this game. But as I got further along in the game, and and the enemy list seemed to grow, the game definitely gets more difficult, and it becomes a lot more challenging and a lot more fun. Uh, but even though at times it can be challenging and a little bit frustrating, they reward you because at the end of every big battle, you get a new ability, a new bit of magic. And let me tell you, Rooch, the magic later on in the game makes the stuff you start with look like child's play.
Oh God, I wish I wouldn't have taken my nap now. I wanted to see some more magic. Um, no, I was gonna say that that's what makes this game really shine, or at least what I was hoping was gonna make it shine, that I was thinking needed to happen was the magic needed to be intuitive. Needed to be something that as you learned it and you did it, it just made sense. And so far, every magical ability I've found does exactly that. Like I said, even the magic, the fireball, just twisting your hand makes you get this fireball in your hand. And then I want to do this in real life, but I don't want to do it in real life either, because that's not good. But no, I'm impressed with this game. Way more impressed. It makes me kind of want to go back and play the first one, but from what I'm hearing, I don't know that I'm gonna. That's probably not a good idea, because this one's so good, and the other one, if it's this one's that much better than the first one, I'll probably not want to play through it. Uh, but I look forward to going back into this.
Yeah, yeah, me too. This is one of those that I definitely see myself finishing in the next day or two. I think I might be pretty far along in it already. Anyway, I'm not sure how much further it has to go. Um, but it's cool because as you get deeper into the game, it becomes more challenging. The powers become more strong, and it takes an even darker tone than it starts with. It's kind of innocent and happy-go-lucky at the beginning, but as you get closer and closer to the source of the big bad, everything gets darker. The enemies become more evil-looking, and you end up needing those powers that you pick up along the way.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Phil Yarn was just asking if this is going to end up on Viveport, or do you know if this is going to make Infinity, or if it's even rumored yet?
What's up, Phil Yarn? I don't know. I know that the first one is an Infinity title. I also know that the Wizard's Dark Times is available on Viveport to purchase right
Hmm.
now. I do not know if it's going to eventually become an Infinity title. I would guess so at some point, but the question really is when. Is it going to be 3 months? Is it going to be a year? Right?
Yeah, it could be next week for all we know. They could play it or whenever. It's kind of like with Half-Life Alex. You let it come out for a week or two, and then you get the initial sales of people that are going to buy it, and then everything else is kind of up in the air anyway. So,
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, I definitely think this is worth a buy. It's worth the 25. It was questionable at first. Ray Delatorre, I think it was, asked me in the comments of my gameplay. By the way, there's a gameplay up on the channel if you'd like to see more of the game. I play the first 2 or 3 levels, I think. You can find that on our channel. But he was asking me if it was worth the 25, and at that point I was like, I think so, but I don't really know because I haven't died yet, and it's not very hard. But having played it a few more times since then, yeah, I think it's definitely worth the 25, and it's worth it even if it were just like, I hesitate to say this, but if it were like a sandbox, these powers are so cool. And like the later powers, you're going to really love it when you get there, Roots. Like they take the base powers that you already have and give you more powerful iterations of them.
hmm.
So like the fire power, the fireball power, you have a way more cool fire power coming. The arcane powers that you have a cooler one coming. And there's also like a force electricity, kind of like the Emperor Palpatine has. You know how he just shoots lightning bolts everywhere. You end up being able to pick up that ability as well.
That's what's cool about a game like this in VR versus flat game. Because the sparks shooting out of your fingertips doesn't translate the same on a TV or just whatever, man. Like it just is so cool to just twist your hand and watch something form in there that, you know what I mean? Instead of having to push a button or whatever, you're just moving your hand like you normally would. Um, or I don't know if I would normally do that in real life, but I don't know. I just thought I think they really nailed it with this one. Definitely a good game. Definitely worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of the magic of VR, isn't it? The fact that you're actually in the game doing these things with your own hands. Um, like I got to imagine if this was a flat game, I don't know how fun it would be at all. It would certainly need to have way more graphical fidelity because that's kind of half the draw of flat games anyway, is the super 8K graphics or 4K whatever. But in VR, it's a whole different story because you get to interact and fight face to face with something with your own hands, and not only is it cool to do that in VR, but I say thank God that VR is the only place that you can do that, because could you imagine the state of the world today if people could just go whoop and have a fireball in their hand?
Oh god. Well, that would definitely change the state of the riots for sure. Everything would be burnt down in about 2 seconds. you know?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. Unless it were the police, right? Maybe the police have the force lightning, right?
I think so. There's technology out there, Wes, that we probably would think was some kind of force lightning or some kind of magic. If we were able to see it, we'd think, "Oh shit, what is happening?" That's crazy. Oh yeah, you just smashed that.
I
But
guess that's true. They
yeah,
probably do have. They've got tasers, right? That's close enough.
yeah, because if you think about lighters and stuff, if you took a lighter 300 years back in the past, they'd be like, "Ooh, magic," And it's just like it's just a big lighter, ain't nothing. It's just something that they don't know. But
Right, right. I was just saying that the other day to High on Tacos, is that science, all science is the explanation of magic, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or in the reverse, magic is the lack of understanding of science.
Yeah, well, there you
So,
go. It just depends on your viewpoint, I guess, but it's roundabout way of saying the same thing.
yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
Slavery says, I try moving my hands like that in real life all the time and nothing ever happens. Hey, man, It's not happening just because you're not believing. All you gotta do is believe hard enough, and you can do anything, bro.
Yeah. Well, part of me, as much as we would think we would want it to pop up in our hand, I think that would probably freak me out. I don't know that I would. Can you imagine if you're like, nah, I'll pass. I don't need a fireball in my hand that bad. That would be weird.
Could you imagine if you did it and the fireball actually popped into your hand, but it burned you because it's a fucking fireball?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be holding fire, right? Yeah, that's true.
Right. Anyway, I've got some heavy time in this game. I'm late into it. Definitely going to finish it, and in my opinion, it just continues to get better as you go along. 100% recommend on my side. Roots, what say you?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You're still seeing the stream, I'm assuming?
Yeah, everything seems to be going okay on my end. You having some technical difficulty?
No, I don't see it going anymore.
Everything looks good here, man.
Okay.
Oh,
Hey,
hold
you
on.
guys, I guess in the chat, just let us know what you're seeing, because this is what I see. I'll show you what I see.
Well, let me bring it up here. Hit play, Roots.
So
Because it's a fucking fireball.
so maybe it must have just, I don't know what the hell happened, but all right. Well, yeah, that's weird. So that's my technical difficulties, but we'll get back to where we're at. So
We're all good. Slaybay says fireballs would hurt. I'm sure. Yeah, for sure, fireballs would hurt. Anyway, the Wizards Dark Times, a great time. Check it out, 100%.
Yep, very true.
All right, that wasn't all that we played this weekend. As a matter of fact, we all, Roots, myself, Spry Guy, who else was in there? Scion,
Radio Runt,
Radio Runt,
and Overgees.
and Overgees. We all jumped into Contractors last night, and Roots, I ran my Oculus Quest dead just playing Contractors.
I know, that's crazy, and that's, I guess it's so you have to, when you hook up your Quest to the link, because it's not the not the official link, it doesn't charge at the same time, right? So you have to hook it up to the power as well as the computer, correct, for the Quest?
It does. It does charge. It charges at the same time, but I put the extension on. I told you I got an extension for my cable. That cable eats up a lot of that electricity unless you plug it into its own power supply, which I did not do last night. I just let it kind of power itself off of the computer. But even at that, I mean, I played the game for like 4 hours solid. So I played for 2 hours before I even got on with you guys, or even maybe like 2.5 hours before I even got on with you guys.
Yeah, I feel bad because I asked Mamefan to join us, and then it got later in the time when we started playing. It was way too late for his East Coast time, so I apologize for that, Mamefan. But I had a lot of fun in this game. I picked this video. Obviously, this is the same video from yesterday, Greg's VR's video, and Nuketown is just looks so amazing, and I'm so impressed with this mod that they've added. And I would have told you, if you would have asked me last week, which game is better, Pavlov or Contractors VR, I would have told you hands down Pavlov. I've been telling people that. There's the base of players is there. That's the number one. There's so many players because they were smart and they ran it at $10 forever, and then once they added the content, or they got it to the place they wanted it to be, they bumped it to 25. So right now this is on sale as well as Pavlov. But I'll tell you what, man, my opinions are changing with the addition of the jump button and just being able to jump around corners and shoot. And then these maps, because these maps were really what the main thing that separated Pavlov from Contractors was the maps and the game modes. Now, I just read today that they're adding domination to the mix, and that's my baby, Wes. That and capture the flag. We even played some kill confirmed, and that was cool. So I don't know, man. We had a really good time, and this is, to me, is shaping up to be one of the better, if not the best, shooter in VR at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't claim to be an expert about competitive first-person shooters in VR or outside. But I got to agree, man. With my limited experience, this is definitely the funnest one I've played so far. Now, with that said, yesterday was my very first time in Contractors. I hadn't tried it before, so I can't really speak too much to the improvement that the mods brought. But I will say this: that the modded maps uh, were phenomenal. I mean, the cityscapes that we played in, those last two maps that we played that were urban areas, they were great, man. You can fight on the streets, you can fight inside the buildings. There's tons of stairwells inside and outside of the buildings, and gigantic maps. I mean, for what this was, I mean, there were really big maps. Um, and if the 3D audio wasn't so good, I mean, it's like you'd almost never find where your teammates were, right?
Yeah, it gets difficult too sometimes when you hear those footsteps and you see that they sound like they're close, but they're maybe on a different level or whatever. But it's done, like you said, it's done very well, and it's the only way you can tell when somebody's coming around a corner. But now I foresee them making just about any map that exists out there, the game modes, everything is made. When this game came out, everybody talks about the control or whatever. It's okay. You got your one control issue or a place where everybody goes and you stand there and you get the points and then it moves to another place. I found that so boring when it first came out that I wrote this game off. I was like, the guns were amazing, the shooting felt good, but the game mode sucked. It was horrible. And so that's why I was so psyched when I heard that they're bringing actual domination. There's something about having three different locations that people need to go to. It keeps everything flowing. You're constantly moving. You're constantly having things change over, and it just makes chaos. And I love it. So I'm excited for the new mode for sure.
Yeah, man. Phil Yarn says, I've been singing Contractors' praises since the beta. Fun fact, the graphics had a downgrade, but it still looks good.
Wow, I did
Uh,
not know that. Now I do remember Phil Yarn saying that back in the day when it first came out and how Contractors was the best out there. And I agreed as far as the way the gameplay felt and stuff. I didn't like that mode, but now that they're adding everything that everybody wants, and the mere fact that it's open for everybody to do whatever they want, and it's only been less than a week and we already have all these awesome maps and game modes, it makes me excited for what's going to be there 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks, a month. I think we are on the cusp of seeing what look at that body, the closest thing to Call of Duty in VR that we've seen to date, and the addition of the jump. I can't stress it enough, is huge. There's nothing worse than playing a shooter where you can't jump up onto stuff. If I can try to jump up on a ledge or whatever, like I don't even know how many times I've killed people just by jumping up somewhere that they didn't know, or like overGs crouching around and creeping. It's just fun. It's a fun time.
yeah, it was great. It was a great time. Uh, in my personal opinion, I feel like Contractors was way better than Pavlov. Now that said, I don't have your experience in it, but I feel like Pavlov to me seemed like more of an indie game, like from a small indie dev, where Contractors seems a lot more polished and a lot more something you'd find on a console. Um, I really appreciated the fact that there were training missions. When I started Pavlov, all I could really do to try to learn how to play the game was just start a match and fill it with bots. The only problem was the bots were all just like stupid. Like they would just stand and walk at you. I mean, it was just easy to kill them. But in Contractors, the complete opposite. You start out in this big warehouse. There's 8 training missions in front of you, and each one is designed to train you on a different weapon, a different aspect of fighting. No live uh, uh, enemies, no AIs. It's all pop up targets. But the cool thing about it is not only does it allow you to get familiar with the weapons, but it allows you to get familiar with the UI, and you get a chance to learn how to do your loadouts and customize your weapons. You learn how to balance uh, when you're upgrading, so that because there's a cost, right? Every upgrade costs something, and you only get so much currency when you're in there doing that. Let me ask you this, Roots. The upgrades, they only give you so much currency to work with, like 20 or 30 dollars or whatever. Is there a way to up that? Do you get more as your experience level grows, or is it just the same for everyone?
I have no idea. I was saying last night when we were playing, everyone was talking about, I can't remember what mode it was. They were talking about their scopes or something, their holoscopes. I was like, dude, I'm still running on the whatever default on that first thing came in. I just went right in. I didn't put scopes on. I didn't do jack crap. And so I was playing with iron sights. I guess I was playing with the disadvantage from everybody else. But I did put the scope
100%.
on. Yeah, I put the scope on once. And, we were playing a lot of gun game, and so the game guns are keep changing, and so that's kind of cool. But at the same time, you don't get to use your own guns with any scopes or anything. You get like when your particular gun comes across, you get that scope for that one gun, and that's it. So yeah, I need to go in there and actually do a loadout, because if this was Call of Duty West, that would have been the first thing I did was change my abilities and make everything tweaked perfect. But because it's virtual reality, I just want to get in there and jump in there and play. I don't want to be messing with too many stuff, and I guess I need to do that. So
Yeah, Phil Yarn says you can bring in enemies in the warehouse by pressing those big red buttons on the desk. Yeah, Phil, I found that out the hard way. Like I didn't know what was going on, but the first thing I did as soon as I fired the game up for the first time was walk around just to look around the warehouse. I saw those buttons, and the first thing I did was press one. And now all of a sudden, before I even know how to use the weapons, I've got this line of zombies chasing me around the warehouse. But I killed them because
mm.
that's just how I roll.
Well, that's another thing that's cool is, and I didn't get a chance to check this out, but they do have a zombie mode, Wes. Like for zombies from Call of Duty. So I think at the minimum, this should be opening up, these developers from the big studios of how good a game can be. I mean, look at how good Nuketown turned out. And, this is just somebody making a map. And, if you had a professional team behind it, it could be amazing. I thought this one looked amazing anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah, it was a really good looking game as far as these kinds of games go. So yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed it. There wasn't a whole lot that I could really complain about with it, honestly, except for the run mechanic. You have to like press in your thumbstick to run, which is normal. It's a toggle, right? You can toggle running and walking, but for some reason, if you're holding your gun up, it won't let you run. And for some reason, like even when I would put my gun down half the time, it wouldn't allow me to run. So when we were playing like kill confirmed, um, I would kill somebody, and their skull would be not that far in front of me, but I would try to run for it, and I would just slowly creep, and here goes Roots. He's coming, he's right here, and I'm trying to run, and I can't run, and right before I get to confirm the kill, boom, I become the kill.
yeah. Well, no, that, I mean, that it makes sense. I think it's I would equate it to this, Wes. Imagine somebody is coming to PlayStation VR and they're playing Skyrim, and they tell you, man, these move controller buttons suck. And you say, dude, like that's the general schematic for every walking locomotion game in VR for PlayStation. And eventually you'll get used to it because that's the standard. That's the standard for these VR shooter games. Every one of them, if your gun is up, it's so you can't just run around aiming all the time. It makes you have to run and then aim as soon as you stop. And so it's just the general, you'll get used to it. Once you play more of these games, it just won't be an issue. And it might be the location of your hands as well. Somebody was saying last night in the chat that I guess if your hands are above your waist, but I'm not sure. I don't know. It's so natural now to me that when I'm running, I just instinctively point it down a little bit, even just a little bit of an angle. But you'll get used to it, and then you'll be snatching up Ruuts' skull and killing him before he gets a chance to kill you. It was good. It was a lot of fun. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite things, is when we teamed up. For some reason, Scion always wants to do free for all. Well, I know why, because he wins a lot when everybody's against everybody. But I like to do teams. I like to create a camaraderie, where it's us against you type of thing. And then you get mixed up with the teams. It's always random, so that was kind of cool too. One minute we're all against Spry Guy and Overgees, the two brothers, and then the next minute I'm on Overgees' team. And I don't know, I just had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did as well. I gotta say, I normally don't have a preference free for all versus teams, but I will say that last game that we played when my headset died, that kill confirmed in that big city map, I really had fun. Even though we got down pretty big early on and never did catch up, I had a blast playing that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And no, yeah, guys started out slow, and then you guys were coming back, and I give him crap, but Scion, I think he had 37 kills or something on the last round, some insane amount of kills. So
Yeah, you can tell that guy has the experience, right?
yeah, that's what it takes. A lot of time, practice, and get really good at it.
So anyway, yeah, Contractors, in my opinion, definitely trumps Pavlov. I've never played Onward. I think it looks pretty good, but I don't know, it looks a little bit more tactical, a little more team based than these other two. Really, I haven't had that much of a desire to play Pavlov or Onward all that much. Honestly, besides Contractors, the only other one that really intrigues me is Zero Caliber. I think
mm.
that game looks pretty good.
Yeah, Zero Caliber was okay. That's more story co-op as far as what I think, and which would be exactly why it probably interests you. I think Pavlov and this one, Contractors, are the two best, just because of the variety of maps and game modes. Like even Pavlov, if you're into what is it, terrorist and whatever, TTT something town or whatever that everybody loves. I don't know the rules very much either. I think you went in and didn't know what the hell. Was it you or somebody went in and didn't know what the hell was going on TTT, but last week. But so there's still some modes that this doesn't have that Pavlov does have. But I think that's the key. It's the game modes and the maps. In not Contractors, Onward, it was good in the beginning, but it's got a lot of asshats in there. A lot of people that that's their life, and they don't have all the maps. They don't have all the modes. It is what it is, and I think it's gonna fall behind the other two, in my opinion.
Well, only time will tell. I know they did get that big update there, 5 or 6 months ago, but I think that was mainly a graphical thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. But that's the good news. All these gun games, all of them, every one of them, they're updating it. They're working on them, right? They're constantly adding maps and adding modes. And I think it was Phil Yarn said every multiplayer should have mods in it. CS:GO, Counter-Strike started because of the source, because of Gary's mod. It was created as a mod for Half-Life Alyx, or not Half-Life Alyx, Half-Life original, and it just shows you what people can do with the software.
Yeah, man. People never cease to amaze me. Their creativity, and oftentimes when you get modded content, it is as good or even better in some cases than the original base game.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, anything that you can add to it and give people some kind of extra to the game, that's a no-brainer. And it really excited me playing last night, Wes. Really excited me for what we're gonna see with Half-Life Alyx mods. It opened my eyes. It made me look back into Counter-Strike and all of that, and just how much came out of the source. And I think Source 2 is going to do the exact same thing it did for PC gaming back then. It's going to do it for VR, and it's just it's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. They're already taking off with those Source 2 mods. I mean, every day there's a new one, it seems like.
Yeah.
Looks like Alex VR has joined the chat. How's it going, Alex? Beyond Realities, Thanks for showing up. D-Rail says, uh, Raccoon Lagoon trumps all of those games. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious, as if we didn't already know that.
Yeah. Well, see, what's funny is I don't know if he's being serious. Alex says he likes Raccoon Lagoon. I do too. Jim Hall likes it as well. It's such a weird thing because it seems so cartoony, but it's a lot better than I thought it would be. So I don't know if Derail is being sarcastic or being serious, but I think it's a good game.
Um, on the issue of contractors, how many? We had 6 of us in there playing last night. Was that the limit, or can you have a bigger group go in?
I'm pretty sure you can have. I mean, I don't know what the max you can have. If somebody in the chat can answer that, but I do know that 6 is not the limit. I think there's a limit for the Quest players. I know the Quest. If you play on the Quest to play cross play, like not tethered, you can't use the mods yet. I don't think you have to have the PC to use the mods, and there might be something else to that as well. But I don't know. It's a good question.
Another question. As we were nearing the end of our session last night, you mentioned something about a virtual gun stock. What exactly is that?
There's a setting in there. It's says, like a lot of people have the gun stock. The virtual gun stock it makes it whenever you bring up the gun up to your chest or to your shoulder, it kind of locks it in, and it makes it easier to aim down. Kind of like when you have a gun stock, it makes it easier to aim down the sights. And what I found it made it easier to do is, like if you're watching Rainbow Six Siege or you're watching anybody that's especially that game, but if you're watching anybody that's like on a professional level, when they're going around corners, they're tilting the gun and they're coming at different angles, right? And when you're using that virtual gun stock, it makes it a lot easier. When I go to turn, it automatically turns it at that right gun angle that you would do on Rainbow Six Siege. So I would imagine it's going to give you a little bit more accuracy. But if I'm being honest, 9 out of 10 times when you run around that corner, I'm aiming and spraying, and I am not. I mean, not even aiming. I'm praying and spraying. I'm just shooting, and so I miss a lot that way. And so I need to aim more, Wes. If I don't want to, if I want to compete with Spry Guy, I need to aim more better. So.
Yeah. Well, I need to check out that virtual gun stock setting, because to be honest, that's my biggest problem with playing these types of games on PC. Is two-handed weapons just feel weird with motion controllers, man. They always have, and yesterday was no exception. I mean, you can get used to it enough to play, but it's odd, man. It's hard to aim correctly. So what you're saying there, it might be something that would actually help me out a whole lot, because honestly, the whole time I was playing, as much fun as I was having, the whole time I was thinking, man, I wish I could just play with this with my aim controller. It would be so much better if I could do that.
I know what Wes was thinking. Wes was thinking, if I had my aim controller, you son of a bitches would all be dead. And so does it make you want to get a gun stock at all? Like a legit gun stock, or?
Dude, I've always wanted a gun stock. The problem is that they just cost way too much money. Just like the steering wheels and the HOTA sticks. They're specialized peripheral for just a handful of games, and I can't justify spending $100, $200 on something like that I'll only use occasionally.
See, I think the PC VR does need an aim controller, from what Hard to Get says. Now, I would say that if you play this enough, like if you played this 3-4 days a week and you played several hours, I think it would be worth a gun stock. It's one of those investments. There's certain investments you have in life where, once you've shelled out that money, you forget about it and you're glad you have it there to play whatever games, and as more games drop like this, I think a gun stock would actually be a good thing to have. You know what I mean? So I might look into getting one. I would love to have that advantage, and although the virtual gun stock isn't perfect, it is good. But I think an actual gun stock would be better, obviously. So
Yeah. If you're going to get one, man, Pro Tube is the only way to go. The Pro Tube stock, the way it's set up is it's magnetic. So your controllers go down into it and you hold it like a two-handed weapon. But if something happens and you need to use your knife or use your pistol, the controller just breaks away so that you can do
Hmm.
that, and then when you switch back to rifle, you just magnetically click it right back into place.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I might have to check that out.
They make a really expensive version too called the Force Tube, and that thing is amazing looking. I mean, it's got recoil and everything. Like it's got a motor in it, so that it literally kicks like a gun.
I saw
That
somebody
thing,
use that.
it's yeah, it's amazing looking. But I think it's like $300 or something
Oh
crazy like that.
God, I might as well get the wheel at that point. No, that I definitely I would love to get a one of that, the Force Tube or even the Pro Tube or whatever. I think it would be cool. It would definitely add something to the gaming that would make it that much more, just like the aim controller, right? So
Yep. Yep. Hard to get says I got my money back with my aim controller on PSVR. 100+ hours with Borderlands, dude. Farpoint, $10 right now. If you've got an aim controller and you don't have Farpoint, get it because not only does it have this awesome story mode, but there are challenge modes. There's two-player co-op maps, and there's head-to-head 1v1 multiplayer as well. Uh, by far the definitive aim controller titles. If you don't have it yet, get it
uh,
today.
yeah, that's good. I'll have to get it. Actually,
All right.
Farpoint was one of the best stories I've played through. It's one of those ones that I just felt like I need to finish this story. You know?
Yeah, and the co-op is pretty fun too, right? Running through those maps and enemies all over you.
Yeah, I would love Farpoint to come to PC, although it's never going to happen. But I'd love it.
Nope, no chance in hell on that one. I think I'm pretty sure Impulse Gear is a Sony first party studio. I think Sony owns them. So
Yeah.
well, which then again, though, I mean, there's a lot of news here lately that the PS4 exclusives, all the big name PS4 exclusives, after PS5 launches, the PS4 exclusives are going to come to PC,
That,
and there's been a lot of news on that over the last week.
that makes sense. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me anyway. But I mean, if you think about it, because it seems like this generation above all others, with especially with VR, it's like they're moving forward and they're ditching that stuff and they're going PlayStation 5 for the PlayStation 5 exclusives, and of course you can play the old ones, but it makes sense. We've already
Yeah,
wrung as much of this out of it. Now let's go to a completely new area of people, right?
yeah, man, that makes perfect sense. If you're going to launch a new console, something that's on another level from a technical standpoint, you know that you're not just going to be able to talk PC gamers into buying a console, right? They all have this mentality that they've already got the best. Why do they need a console? Um, and on top of that, you're charging $500 to $600 for it. How do you sell those naysayers on buying into a PlayStation 5? Well, the way you do that is you give them God of War, you give them Horizon Zero Dawn, you give them all of your big name exclusives that you've already sold millions of copies of and you're done with, and let them play them. Give them The Last of Us, let them play through that. And then when they get done with that, they're going to be hungry for the sequel, right? Well, there's only one place to get the sequel, and that's PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it makes sense to me for sure.
And so while we're on the subject, I guess that's a pretty good segue right into our topic for the day, because we were kind of, tossing around a few ideas to try to think about what our topic was going to be, and right in the middle of all of it, Sony drops a new date and time for their PlayStation 5 reveal event, the one that was supposed to take place this past Thursday on June the 4th. Has now been moved up, just like everything else, 1 week to the 11th. So yesterday, when we said everything got moved up a week except for the Sony thing, well, now we can revise that statement. Everything got moved up a week, including the Sony thing. So that got me to thinking. I'm super excited to see what Sony's going to reveal. Uh, all indications are that this is going to be a games showcase. They're only going to be showing games footage. They're going to be announcing some new titles. Obviously, some sequels are going to be in there. Um, but what does that mean to me? I'm excited for it as a Sony fan. I'm excited for it as someone who's going to be buying a PlayStation. But what does that mean for us, the VR community? So I was thinking uh, along those lines. Is there anything at all that we can look forward to tomorrow as VR gamers? And Roots, I got to say, I think that there is.
Yeah, I think so too. I believe there's going to be a couple of, well, at least one big announcement of a title that's a VR, if not only a VR only, but something that we're just really waiting to come for to, the sequel to come out. So,
Yeah, I agree. Let me be clear here, though. I do not believe that the Sony event is going to have like a VR section or is going to have like a lot of VR news. I really don't think that. I really think the titles um, that we're going to learn about having VR support on Thursday are going to be just that. They're going to be flat games that also support VR, at least for the most part. I think that's what we can look forward to. But I've got a few examples here of things that I think that we, as VR gamers, can look for on Thursday. I think games that I think it's reasonable to expect. Of course, nobody knows what's going to happen, but we've gotten a lot of rumors over the last month to 6 weeks, Roots, about Resident Evil 8. And as you know, and as I've said many times, Resident Evil 7, my very favorite VR game. And when people start talking about Resident Evil 8, it really gets me excited, especially since there are rumors out there that say that it's for sure going to come to PlayStation VR. So, Roots, when I go into Thursday uh, and my expectations naturally begin to grow, this is probably the number one thing that I'm looking forward to finding out.
yeah, well, I said it last week, and I'm saying it again because I don't think things have changed, but you better finish. Say you're just a rock throw away from finishing this game. Just put it away, bro. Finish it.
Well, I'm going to. I'm going to, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I just bought a second copy of Resident Evil 7. I bought the Gold Edition
Mm.
because it has all of the DLC, and apparently, C adds up to about as much game time as the regular campaign. So I've got a lot of gameplay ahead of me, Roots.
Holy crap, dude. That's crazy. That's a lot of game time. Yeah, no, I'm psyched for this. I'm not much of a horror game buff. I mean, I guess I am if it's done well, but this game here did more to me than any horror game's ever done. And like elicited feelings in me that I've never had before playing a video game. So it makes me want to play number 8, and it makes me wonder what kind of a game it'll be, because each one of them are all so different and different stories. And I remember back in the day, my son was reminding me because I used to play the Resident Evils. I don't remember much about them, but he played through them more than I did. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember, Dad, you played through Resident Evil 2 and you played through this." And I'm like, "I don't remember jack crap, dude." But no, I'm psyched for Resident Evil 8, and I'm psyched to see it on the PlayStation 5. Imagine how amazing the next iteration of Resident Evil is gonna look, especially if it's made for that platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to get says Gran Turismo 7 full in VR, maybe. I don't know if we'll see that on Thursday or not, but I would fully expect that. It was 6, 9 months ago. The head of the studio there that puts out Gran Turismo was talking about VR and was very high on it and seemed to hint at full VR support for the next Gran Turismo title. So yes, I would fully expect that hard to get.
Nice, man. I feel bad for that lady right there, man. He just killed her. She looks so innocent and so man, it's so different from when she's like freaking out and in your face and she looks like she's about to rabidly rip your head off. and then you feel bad because she looks normal, right? Crazy.
Right. Well, she looks normal, but uh, she's got issues, bro.
She's
The girl's
crazy.
got
Yeah, talk
girl's
about
got issues.
crazy ex-girlfriend. This is it for sure.
Anyway, so what um, what makes us think that we're going to see this on Thursday? Resident Evil 8, I mean. What makes me think that? Well, besides the fact that it has been heavily rumored over the past couple of weeks that we're going to see just that. In addition to that, uh, I'd like to point out the fact that again, this event was supposed to take place this past Thursday on June 4th. As it just so happens, that very day that this event was supposed to happen, all of the Resident Evil games on the PlayStation Store went on sale, including Resident Evil 7 at its lowest price ever, $10. So I find that to be strange timing. What about you, Roots?
No, I agree. I think it's, well, it's probably not even strange timing. I think it's perfect timing. I think it's exactly what you said. And we're seeing that in a lot of levels, you know. A lot of things that Sony's doing is it's they're putting a nail in the coffin of the PlayStation 4, and they're opening up the new chapter, PlayStation 5. And that doesn't mean that the PlayStation 4 is going to die or it's going to stop getting, you know, support. It just means you can just see that the shift, you know, this is the start of the shift, and I think we're going to see it on Thursday.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's 110 million PlayStation 4s out there. You're not likely to see people stop making games for it anytime soon.
No, this is, I mean, we're not even talking. You know, most people, they any developer wants to make a game that people want to buy are going to buy, and it's going to be a bit before anybody has a mass adoption of the 5 anyway. I was telling somebody that yesterday. Anybody that thinks any future technology is just going to roll out and like it has in the past and with as much as everybody needs is naive. There's just everything is a little bit more antiquated or a little bit harder to get as far as you know, material wise. So, you know, I think that this particular, when it comes out, is going to be a very good one to get when it drops, you know, early if you can, because I think people are going to be having trouble getting it for a while. Just like the Quest, just like the Rift S, just like the Valve Index, anything worth getting right now technologically is takes a little bit longer than it used to.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. And to be quite honest, on the subject of Resident Evil 8, I fully expect it to be uh, a cross-gen title. I don't think it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I think that it's going to run on PlayStation 4 as well. So,
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
uh, but anyway, beyond the coincidence or not, uh, coincidental timing of the Resident Evil sale on the PlayStation Network, we also had the following day, that Friday, a new group of rumors or leaks come out uh, telling us some more details about the story of the game. So, what I've done here is I've put together a list of not all, but the most credible story elements that we've learned since these leaks have started happening. So I'm going to run down this list really quickly here, 2 or 3 minutes. If you, I mean, there's no major spoilers in here. It's more of a kind of a plot synopsis than story spoilers. But if you don't want to know anything at all about it until you play it, mild spoiler warning here. We are talking about some very credible leaks, in my opinion, and I absolutely do believe that everything I've got listed here is going to be true when the game does come out.
Oh.
So there's your spoiler warning, friends. Get it out now if you don't want to know. All right. Anyway, the game is going to feature a village environment. In fact, the title of the game is going to be Village, much like Resident Evil 7 was Biohazard. Resident Evil 8 is going to be Village. The game features a village environment along with a castle, caves, and in general, a larger focus on an outdoor setting. Occultism is going to play a big part in this game. The village is occupied by a cult that worships the creatures that have been created by a new virus. And the virus has permeated the air of the village, causing the people to hallucinate. Roots, we just talked about it yesterday. This supernatural occult style horror game is the specific type of game that really scares me and really gets to me. And it looks like this is what we're getting from the next iteration of Resident Evil.
Yeah, it sounds creepy as hell. Sounds good. Makes me want to play it right now, and that's a good, a good sign. And just I don't know, it's intriguing, like what is this village? Where is it at? What's going on there? And why the hell would you, like, if you're a cult, you're worshiping something that's mutated? I don't know. That's weird, man. That's such a weird story. It just sounds really intriguing to me. So,
well, again, they're all hallucinating on top of it.
oh,
So you've
true.
got these weird creatures and a bunch of people hallucinating. And I got to imagine if you as the player are in this village, there are going to be certain scenes where you're facing the most evil shit. You're going to start hallucinating as well. Now imagine that in VR.
Yeah, it sounds creepy as hell. Even just looking at Jack running around, or even that I don't know what she is, the ant or whatever, when she got in your face, man, that just reminds me of how good this game looks. And I'm just so psyched to see not only a new story, but a new story on the new platform. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're a fan like I am of Resident Evil 7, you're not going to be disappointed by this next game because Resident Evil 7's lead character Ethan makes a return. So you're actually still playing as Ethan in the next game.
Hmm.
And I know I can see your wheels turning. What that doesn't make sense. If it's in Europe, it's in this village, why would it be Ethan, right? Well,
Hmm.
I'll tell you why. He will also be joined by a new playable character, Emily, who is a village resident looking for her father. Mia and Ethan are both living adjacent to this village, and they now have a child. But due to the infection in Resident Evil 7, the child that they had is deformed.
Hmm.
So they now live in solitude uh, in Europe in an attempt to hide their child. So hopefully that answers a lot of the questions for you there.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy synopsis there. I wanted that person to burn this balloon. That would have been cool, but I guess you can't pop it. Man, there's some stuff going on in this game I've never seen before, man. What is this? This is some crazy ass stuff.
That
Uh-uh.
that what you're looking at there is a section of the game called Happy Birthday, and I did a playthrough of this specific scenes. One of my last videos I did on Resident Evil 7. Probably my favorite escape room I've ever done is what you're looking at right there.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, no, now you got me psyched for Thursday, man. What are we gonna find out about Resident Evil 8? And if you had to guess, like, what's a release date? And I know this is Westradamus times 10, but what would you say, just a random date you think this is gonna drop?
I would say holiday 2020. I would say it's going to launch right alongside the PlayStation 5. And again, I think it's going to be a cross-platform title. I don't think it's going to be a PS5 exclusive. I think that it's going to be a PS4/PS5 game. You
Hmm.
know, they've said that their PlayStation 5 exclusives won't run on PlayStation 4, but that doesn't mean that third parties like Capcom aren't going to make PS4 games. Of course they are. But with that said, Sony has mandated that any game that's announced after I think July must play on PlayStation 5 as well. Like not just from their own backwards compatibility that's baked in,
Hmm.
but the game actually has to be developed to run on PS5.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool.
So I think this has been in development for a couple of years now. But I think that unless they're going to just release it in the next month, I think that Sony's going to require them to do a PlayStation 5 version.
Well, that's good. It's good news for us as consumers, right?
Right. Absolutely. One more thing that I did, or a couple of things actually. I learned a little bit about the enemies in Resident Evil 8. We've learned that the main bad guy, the main antagonist, is someone called Alan R, which I think's funny because of first of all, he's a count who lives in a castle near the village, right? So you think about this creepy vampire type dude living in a castle. I think it's funny that his name's Alan R because it makes me think of Alan Rickman. And for anybody who don't know who Alan Rickman is, he's the actor that played Professor Snape in the
Mm.
The Harry Potter movies. So when I picture this Alan R character, the Count in the castle, I picture Alan Rickman up there.
Maybe it'll be Snape up there. It'll be the evil guy.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, enemies are going to include werewolf-like creatures, something that is described as pale and human-like, dogs, wolves, and creatures that resemble lickers. So
Well, that's good. We
those are
need werewolves, man. Somebody was just saying that in one of the chats or something the other day that, like, where are the werewolves? They've hit so many different genres in VR. There's not a werewolf game. Can you imagine a really cool, badass werewolf game where the werewolves are hunting you down? You got the silver bullet. I mean, or something like, what was that one where it was the vampires versus the werewolves or something along that nature? That would just be really badass, right? As a horror game in virtual reality.
Yeah, personally, as much as I love zombie games, and believe me, I love zombies. Honestly, I think that it's time for vampires to make a comeback. It's been a good long while since we had a good classic, not only vampire game, but like vampire movies. Do we even have like a legit vampire game in VR Roots?
Nah, I think they were going to make one called The Lost Girls. It's going to be a remake of The Lost Boys, but with girls as the main characters. But no, I don't think they have
Oh,
a
brother.
legit one, to be honest. And that's weird, right? Because I don't know, it's another creepy thing that they haven't really done or touched base on in virtual reality. There's a lot of untouched territory for virtual reality, right?
Yeah. You'd think that vampires would be the first thing that would catch on, right? Because out of all of the lore of all these old, legendary creatures, you know, in my opinion, vampirism is the most realistic, the most likely to be true. Castlevania in VR are hard to get sets. Man, I would love Castlevania in VR. That would be so sweet. Just a straight remake of the first Castlevania where you've got a whip and you're hunting down Dracula. Man, that would be great.
That'd be really cool.
But interestingly enough, I was just playing Castlevania in VR, like the original Castlevania in VR, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I think I might have tried that one on the 3D Sens or whatever, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I really, really digged it. It was one of my favorite ones. But that's a different story for a different Monday show. Uh, Mamefan says the Lost Girls is definitely coming now. Well, let's hope so, bro. I mean, that'd be awesome, right? Because the thing about vampires that are different than all other monsters, vampires are sexy, right? So if we're gonna have vampire chicks, I mean, they're not gonna be like. Uh, I'm trying to be as PC as I can about this. They're not gonna be manly looking girls, right? They're gonna be hot.
Maybe. Who knows these days?
They're yeah. The Lost Girl vampires in Birkenstocks? I don't think
Yeah,
so,
I
bro.
hope not.
Red pumps. It's coming.
Yeah.
Onakazi says for vampires, the Vampire Masquerade game should be out soon-ish. Is that a VR game, Onakazi? I haven't heard of that one.
I haven't
I
heard
bet
of
the
it either.
guys who made Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners would make a great vampire game. I think that those guys could do any damn thing they want to. What a creative and talented team. at Skydance Interactive.
Yeah.
Oh, and Scion's in the house. What's up, buddy? Had to sell some old furniture. Well, I totally get that, man. Antiques freak me out, bro.
Yeah, everything's on sale. It's the end of the world. Just sell it all.
Yeah, right. Like make like Elon Musk and just get rid of all of it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Resident Evil 8, not all that I'm expecting to come out of the PlayStation 5 event, because last week, or maybe it was the week before, a listing suddenly appeared for Prey for PSVR, the classic action game, Prey, that we all know and love. I guess it's a pseudo horror game. Prey uh, was listed on a UK retailer's website uh, as having PSVR support, but then it was promptly taken down. Um, it wouldn't be the first time, though, that a new Bethesda game has leaked via a retailer. Ruuts, we've seen them kind of flirting with this before, because it was either last year or the year before. They released the Prey Typhoon Hunter multiplayer game, as well as some escape room style mode for the original Prey game. So they're kind of flirting around with it, right? So would you be shocked to see a full on uh, PlayStation VR version of the original Prey game?
I'm starting to get to the point where I don't know if I would be shocked. I'd be surprised, but shocking, no. I mean, I even just, I haven't been too much into Prey. I didn't know exactly what it is. I knew it was a game, but I didn't know much about gameplay. But just watching the footage that I got here for the show, I was like, wow, this would be amazing in VR. So yeah, I think it would be amazing. And you know, every one of these titles that they can bring in, these IPs that everybody knows, if they can bring it into virtual reality, that even if you don't have virtual reality, it's in the back of most people's minds how awesome it would be to go into that world. And I think a lot of people are just waiting for their specific world to come to VR. Like for me, if I'd never touched VR and I was like, I don't really care about it, and then all of a sudden I heard World of Warcraft was in virtual reality, that would have been what drew me in. I'd be like, oh, dude, I gotta play this. This is my jam, At least it was back in the day. Now it'd be Sea of Thieves. But there's certain IPs that will draw people in, and I think Prey is one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I like you have I've never played Prey. This is one of those games that came along during that period that I was away from gaming, but upon watching footage of it, I think it would be a perfect fit for VR. Um, people, a lot of people describe this game as a truer sequel to the original System Shock than even Bioshock was.
Hmm.
And those are big words because Bioshock pretty much was the sequel to System Shock. Um, so, yeah, I think Prey would be an excellent VR game. And I don't think it's so far fetched, not only because of uh, that listing that appeared on that website, but Arcane Studios, uh, which was behind the 2017 revival of Prey, was also behind last year's Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. So the team is certainly experienced enough to put out a VR version of the game.
Yeah, if they do that, then I hope they go for the actual, like, put the game in VR. Don't give us an experience. We're past the experiences of, I would never want to play a World of Warcraft experience. That would just make me sad. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is what you could have if we ever took the time to put this world in VR fully. And so you kind of get a taste of it, and then you don't, because I think Cyberpilot, for all of us, especially on the show, all of us were a little bummed out with what we got. Not that it was bad, it just wasn't what we were hoping for, right?
Mamefan says transpires hyphenated. Yeah, that would suck. Literally. It would
Yeah.
suck in more ways than one, right?
Yeah, that'd be a real sucky movie for sure.
Yeah, it would suck badly. Onakazi says Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines came out on Source 2 Engine about a month before Half-Life 2. Its sequel, Bloodlines 2, is supposed to come out this year. Well, I mean, if it's on Source 2, even if it isn't intended as a VR game, it could very easily be modded, right?
Yeah, dude, I think we're about to be blown away. Like one of these games that we're going to be talking about in a couple of games here, I found out is actually made into a Half-Life Alex mod, and I want us to check it out because people say it's really good. We'll see, but I don't know, man. I feel like Source 2, we're right on the edge of some really amazing stuff in VR.
Yeah, I agree, man. Paradise Decay's been documenting the best of the Half-Life 2 mods, and he's got one on there every day. Every other day, there's another one that he's showcasing on there, and it's pretty much, PD's channel's pretty much become the Half-Life Alex mod channel.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know. We specifically we're going to be doing a mods episode, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to hold off a bit, is we wanted to give Half-Life Alex modders a little bit of time to put out some good stuff. So hopefully by the time we do that episode, we'll be talking about like 2 or 3 really amazing mods that they have, because I've been holding off and going back in because I want to go back in and check out some of these mods, but I don't want to check out any mod. I want to check out the good stuff, you know what I mean? Like, so we need the Paradise Decays to do his due diligence, which he's doing, test them out for us, and then we'll know which ones are worth checking out. So
Yeah, my original idea for that was to do a mods episode and an emulators episode. But the more I look into it, there is so much Roots. I think that this is going to really end up being more of a series,
hmm.
like we're going to talk about a mod and an emulator on this episode, and then we'll come back on another episode and talk about another mod and another emulator. There's just so much great stuff out there that's unofficial, you know VR VR experiences and games that I honestly don't think we could fit it into a reasonably sized episode.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. We'll have to make it some sort of a series, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to prepare for this series.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. You know, it's like Contractors last night. We weren't playing the game. We were preparing for the show, damn it. And we got to play the game. So it's cool.
Onakazi says, "I wonder when PD finds time to sleep. Maybe PD is the vampire that we've all been speaking about for the last 15 minutes."
I think so. I think what it is Gamertag and PD are one person, and they split, and one person sleeps while the other one, because I actually, that there's no harder people in VR that work as hard as they do. So that's crazy.
Yeah, those guys should collaborate sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, PD has different. I mean, Gamertag has different people on his podcast all the time. I think PD they should do a podcast and call it Lords of London Podcast.
Yeah.
Trademark. There you go.
Yeah,
You
there
can
you
have
go.
that one for free.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else? What else might we see at the Sony event? Well, I think it's highly, highly likely that we're going to see Horizon Zero Dawn in VR form. Not only that, but I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the sequel, is likely to be the crown jewel of the PS5 launch lineup. So why would I think that we would get the original Horizon Zero Dawn in VR? Well, only because of a rumor that came by the way of Callum Hurley late last year. And for those of you who don't know, Callum Hurley has worked in the VR industry for quite a while, and he's a very credible source. And Reese, what time is it?
Quote time.
Quote time. This is what Callum Hurley had to say. I guess it was around October, November last year. Quote, was recently made aware of a very exciting new PlayStation VR game coming out of London studio. Not sure whether it'll be for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or both, but it's really exciting. And an announcement could be on the horizon. And the interesting thing about this quote was it was a written quote, it wasn't spoken. And horizon was written with a capital H. And people upon reading this, figured it out pretty quickly what he was doing. They in turn made comments, replies on the tweet this was in, and he he, uh, he kind of not so subtly uh, all but said that yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So without saying it, I think that this is about as close to uh, as a confirmation that we can get of the next big PlayStation VR title. And if there's anywhere that we're going to see this thing be announced, wouldn't it be at the PlayStation 5 reveal event?
Yeah, it would definitely be a good place for it. And this is another series I never played through. That it must have been a lull. I must have been in World of Warcraft world or whatever. But I'm looking at this video and I'm thinking, if you took the game and put it in as it is, and you just put yourself in that world, in this person's third person or whatever, this game is 100% translatable. You could take this game and play it and put it right in VR, and it would be just as good and amazing. But you would be in the world. Of course, for the next version, you would want to be able to zoom into first person or whatever. I don't know what they would add, but I think we're right on the edge, Wes, of games we've always dreamed of playing in VR being a reality. And I think we're so far and so close to this being the case. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I think that this is like you. I haven't played it, but upon looking at it, I think it's a perfect candidate to bring over into VR. Not only is this an extremely highly critically acclaimed, large open world RPG style game, which is great in VR as it is. The combat is mostly archery based. And as you know, archery is the one thing that really naturally translates to VR very, very easily.
Yeah, it does it really well. So if they did it, I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering why I never played this game. It looks really good. So
Yeah, yeah. Onakazi, I happen to be of the belief that we're not going to see a true PlayStation VR 2 for some time, but I also at the same time believe that we're going to get a hardware refresh on PSVR 1. I think that sometime at the end of this year or early next year that we're going to get a PSVR Pro, which is maybe can only even run on the PlayStation 5, but has higher resolution and has new move controllers with thumbsticks. So that would be my guess.
yeah, that would make me
But
happy.
as for Horizon Zero Dawn, yeah, me too. I would be ecstatic. I can wait on PSVR 2, but I can't wait on a new PSVR headset. I need it, Ruuts.
Yeah, yeah. I think
And you know what they say?
Oh, go ahead.
They say when you need something, it's a responsibility. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, we better do it. Wes needs it.
yeah, I need it. Anyway, so we have strong rumors that Horizon Zero Dawn's coming. We have the fact that it's a perfect title to translate to VR. And then we also have the fact that the brand new head of Sony Worldwide Studios is Herman Holst, which happens to be the head of Guerrilla Games at the time that Horizon Zero Dawn was in development. So it all makes sense now, right? It makes sense that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 would be the crown jewel of Sony's next collection. It makes sense that Horizon Zero Dawn would be the next big uh, PSVR game. It all makes sense because the guy that was the head of that development studio is now the head of Sony Worldwide Studios.
Yeah, that's crazy. Small world. How everything comes full round, right? So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right. Anyway, we've been at this a while, approaching 90 minutes. I do have one more title, however, that I think is very likely to be seen on this Thursday at the Sony reveal event. Probably the most amount of hype that I've seen is for this title because it's almost certainly uh, true. All of the leaks, and that of course is Silent Hill. One of the heavier rumors around this PS5 lineups says that a full-on remake of the original Silent Hill has been in development for quite some time. Roots, this is a game that I played way back in the day. The original Silent Hill was outstanding, and while I didn't like it quite as much as the Resident Evil 7, or I'm sorry, not 7, the Resident Evil series, I did really enjoy Silent Hill back in the day.
Yeah, I never played Silent Hill, but this I got the video here is Silent Hill PT, and that's why one of the things I was talking about with Half-Life Alex is that there's a recreation of it with the Source 2 engine, and it's supposed to be pretty good and pretty creepy as hell. But I don't know, man. Everybody talks about Silent Hill and about how scary it is. So I think seeing another genre, or not genre, I guess another series IP besides Resident Evil would be good, right?
Yeah, that would be great. It would be great because, like I've said many times, there are a lot of good VR horror games. There are not a lot of great VR horror games. I would say maybe just two or three great VR horror games. So to have a VR, well, I guess I need to back up a little bit, right? Because uh, there has been absolutely zero rumors that Silent Hill is going to be in VR. Uh, there's been absolutely nothing on that front. So why would I even think that this is a possibility? Well, I'll tell you why. The reason why is because it is heavily rumored that the studio behind Silent Hill, or the Silent Hill remake rather, is Sony Japan Studios. And for those of you who don't know, Sony Japan Studios is the studio that brought us Everybody's Golf as well as Astrobot Rescue Mission. So this is a VR studio making a Silent Hill remake. So I think it stands to reason that it's at least a 50-50 chance that if this is true, that there is going to be some sort of PSVR support for it.
Yeah, I would think there's going to be. I mean, the real reality is Sony has had their finger on VR for a long time, a lot longer than a lot of other companies out there. It seems to be a very big drive for them. So I can't imagine them putting out a huge game like this and not, especially with its Japan studios. It's already got the experience. Why not put it in virtual reality? Unless it's something that's going to take a lot of extra time, or it's going to, make it a pain in the ass to make. I just don't see why not, right?
Yeah, well, I got to imagine if this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, a lot of that headache that comes along with developing VR games for console is going to go away, right? Because we know that the PS5 is going to be a legitimate powerhouse of a machine. So I got to think that, we already know that PS5 is going to support PlayStation VR. So I got to imagine with the way that they've focused on making a machine that's easy to develop for, I got to imagine that that's going to extend to VR as well.
Yeah, I agree. And there's nothing. I was gonna say worse, but nothing better, I guess, than being in the VR creepy world. Like that's a draw. People are gonna think, "Oh God, I can be in Silent Hill. I want to be in there." And then they're gonna get in there and think, "Why the hell did I want to get in this place? I need to get the hell out of here." At least that's how I felt about
Yeah,
Resident
man.
Evil. So,
Yeah, people are really pumped for this game. It was years ago that they brought Konami brought Hideo Kojima in to develop uh, the sequel at that time, and it was called Silent Hills. And that's where we get this PT demo was on PlayStation 4 for the longest time, and this was to be a Silent Hill sequel. And while I didn't get a chance to play the original, I did play the remake in VR, and not the one that you're showing here, not the Source 2 remake that just came out, but even the remake that I played that came from Itch.io was amazing, and it's such an iconic demo, and so many people loved it and got freaked out by it that people continue to remake it today. Not only like you mentioned in Source 2, but there's a legit remake of this in Dreams as well. So I got to imagine that when Dreams gets its VR support, which isn't supposed to be that long from now, we're going to be able to play through PT yet again in VR inside of Dreams.
Isn't it crazy how well this was received? Like to the point where when Anthony was talking about, I think it was PlayStation 3, you know, being able to sell it for more money because it had the demo of this game on it and people couldn't get it anymore. You know what I mean? For people to pay more to be able to play a demo that of a game that's not coming out anymore. That's pretty huge. That tells you how good that it was, and it makes me want to see the Source one. I want to go in there, and you would, I guess, you remember what the other one, the itch.io one, maybe a little bit better, but I'd like to put it up against that and see what the differences of Source 2 is, because I guarantee it's going to look phenomenal. And I don't know, maybe that'll be one of the Half-Life Alyx ones we check out.
Yeah, I agree. Onakazi says that he's really looking forward to Dreams VR support. I am too, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were to learn something about that this week. It's been in beta testing for a few weeks now, and the way Sony's cranking up the hype, I would imagine there's no more perfect time to announce it than right now.
Yeah, well, we'll know in about 3 days, right?
Yeah, that is true, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you have it. Resident Evil 8, Horizon Zero Dawn, Prey, Silent Hill, all very likely to show up at the Sony event. What else? Gran Turismo 7. What do you think's going to show up? Be sure to let us know in the comment down below. And if you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and to click the notification bell to stay up with all of our content here on the Virtual Strangers channel. What's up, High on Tacos? Anyway, we'd like to thank you again for watching and for Ruuts. I'm Wes. We'll see you on Discord, and we'll see you next week, friends. Bye-bye.